Hello and welcome to this FPL Gameweek 27 team selection video with me, Holly Shand. In today's video, I'll be looking at how my Gameweek 26 wildcard went. I'll also be looking at my transfer plans, team selection with some big benching decisions and a huge captaincy decision ahead of the double as well. Let's get into it. Starting off then with the Gameweek 26 wildcard, I've seen some absolute horror stories, so I do feel like I've somewhat got away with it with the 44 points on wildcard, one above the average. And the sweetener for me is that I didn't really own lots of Liverpool players before the wildcard. I only had Gakpo, so I don't feel like my previous team before the wildcard would have significantly outscored my team now. Obviously, there were some disappointments in there. Kepa with the clean sheet was one of the significant returns, as was Ivan Toney, who picked up a couple of bonus points, and I got the decision on which players to start and which ones to bench right. March blanked for Brighton somehow, although he was really impressive in that game, whereas Matoma hauled with a 13-pointer. So not really too many regrets on wildcard. I feel like it was absolutely the right decision, probably the wrong outcome this week, but it set me up well for the double game week in 27, the blank in 28 and the double in 29. So you can't really judge it on 1 week, and that 7-0 Liverpool result kind of came out of nowhere. We couldn't really plan for that. That's just part of the variance of the game. Looking at my transfer plans then, it tends to be the week after playing the wild card. You want to roll a transfer, and with 6 players for the double game week and benching dilemmas, it should be that decision. However, I do have one big regret and problem in my squad, and that is Brighton's Robert Sanchez. He lost his place in game week 26 to Jason Steele, and now I'm wondering, do I hope that Sanchez comes good, or do I make the transfer for Steele and have those 6 double game week players for game week 27? I am really well set up going forward in terms of blank 28 and potential bench boost in 29, although I do think it's worth for any managers that have recently wildcarded to also consider the bench boost in game week 27 as well. Now, De Zerbi said in his press conference that Jason Steele now is playing better than Robert Sanchez and is closer to my style. So I would quite like De Zerbi to come out before the next fixture and say that Steele is number 1. I don't think that's going to happen, but I still feel like it's probably worth a transfer because I can't see Sanchez coming good at the moment. You know, Steele's inclusion has come off a very good run in the FA Cup for Brighton, and I feel like it's his place to lose now. So I don't think it was the worst idea to use that transfer to get Steele in my team for Sanchez, with that intention that I've had all along of rotating the Brighton keeper with the Chelsea keeper of Kepa, and really maximising for the double game weeks and the blank game weeks. Team selection then, and this is probably the toughest one I've had all season. It is a credible week to play the bench boost, but I do feel like looking at my team for double game week 29, that's going to be the better time to activate that chip and really maximise the number of players. So having made the move for the alternative Brighton goalkeeper, it's going to be Steele starting between the sticks for the Seagulls double game week, with Kepa dropping to the bench for the away trip to Leicester. Looking at my defence now, and I've got to play my double game week assets. So Rico Henry and Ben Mee are in for Brentford's doubles with fixtures away at Everton and Southampton. I got away with benching Trippier last week, but I'm not prepared to do it again with a much easier fixture for the Magpies. So he starts against Wolves at home. Fabian Schär, though, is on my bench. He's still flagged with that concussion. I should imagine that he's back fit for this game, but I just feel like he's got a lower point scoring potential than the rest of my defence. And going one higher in my bench priority order is Arsenal's Gabriel. I hope that this is not the week that either of those two centre-backs get that bullet header from a set piece, because that would be really, really frustrating. The midfield has caused the most difficult decision of all. Obviously, I'm going to be playing March and Matoma for Brighton's double. Marcus Rashford at home to Southampton has got to start as well. Then it was between Saka and Odegaard for the final spot in the midfield Fulham away, and right now the fact that Saka is on penalties does just give him that slight edge over Odegaard, so I had to include him in there. So at the moment, painfully, Odegaard is my first sub. The forward line was an easy decision. Obviously Tony starts, and it's penalties FC with Kane and Haaland. Captaincy in game week 27 is a huge one, not least because the single game week assets have very good fixtures in their own right. Haaland against Crystal Palace away is a good fixture for him. Salah is in the picture as well. He plays Bournemouth away. Remember the 9-0 from earlier in the season. Marcus Rashford at home to Southampton, another credible option. And on the Fantasy Football Hub points prediction tool, Harry Kane is actually in second place for the whole of all of the double game weeks and single game week options this week, with a predicted 9.9 points at home to Nottingham Forest. So you've got to consider these single game week options, and as always you can get the full points prediction tool available using the link in the description below. Will get you 30% off your Fantasy Football Hub membership and a free trial as well. However, for me personally, I feel like I need to go with a double game week option, and I've got 3 on the table. It's got to be an attacker. So I've got Ivan Toney. We now know, because he avoided a yellow card in game week 26, that he will play both fixtures. He's not going to get a suspension due to 10 yellow cards this season. He's only on 8, so he's safe from that. We've also got March and Matoma. That, the Brighton midfielders, we've got to remember that midfielders can accumulate points a lot more quickly than strikers, but I don't have McAllister in there, the penalty taker. So I think for me, I'm going to put the armband on Ivan Toney because he's on pens. We know that when he scores, he tends to be in the bonus points in FPL as well. I feel like he's got the better fixtures, even though there's not a lot to split these two sides on form. So I'm going to be going with Toney, and I'll probably go with Matoma as my vice captain. Let me know in the comments your dilemmas ahead of the game week 27 deadline. I do my best to answer all of them within 24 hours of this video going live. Good luck for FPL double game week 27.